Hi, I'm your host, Phil Hoffman. Welcome to Pause. On tonight's episode, we'll be talking all about performing arts. That's coming up right now here on Pause. And thanks for joining us here on Pause. I'm your host, Dr. Phil Hoffman, and tonight we're going to be talking to Jeffrey Imboden, who is the coordinator of the UCM Performing Arts Series and works at the Office of Performing Arts at UCM. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the Performing Arts Series. I know folks that have been in Central Missouri for a long time probably have been at one of those shows. So it's been 28 years?
Actually, we did just finish our 27th year. Now, it started out a different name, and we can talk about how it's changed and transformed over the years. But and you'll hear me say PAS because that's the shortened version.
That's the lingo, right?
Yeah. Well, some people call it PAS, or you know, and I'm okay with that as long as I get some type of identity with it.
As long as they buy a ticket.
Exactly. That's what we want. And really, Performing Arts Series, or PAS, it's more of a program that brings all the different disciplines and genres of the performing arts. So music and dance and theater and all the other, and these days there's a lot of other performing arts, and we might get into that, and it brings it into more of a formal presentation, a formal program, and really it takes quite a bit of work to present a performance on stage and everything that goes with that. So this type of series, and it's really pretty common. They have different names around the country and even around the world, but it's a little more formalized. It brings together all the things that it takes to do it with the box office and the ticketing and tremendous amount of marketing and clear up to the production and working with the artists. So, yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, obviously, there's a lot that has to come together just to make one event happen. But you're sort of coordinating a variety of different kinds of events, but mostly in the same venue for the most part, right?
Actually, it's kind of exciting because we're at the University of Central Missouri, and we're kind of the only player in town, you know, within about a 30-mile radius. But we do have several venues that we use. And that's a good thing because just in the last couple of years, we've changed our programming. And a little later, we might talk about how it's transformed. But you did ask me kind of about the history of it. And it started back in 1988. So President Elliott, at the time, Ed Elliott, wanted to get a more formal program. It wasn't that they weren't doing performances and bringing artists and bands in before that. I remember Bob Hope being at the multipurpose building here on campus. So they did those things, but he wanted to have something where it was out of an office, they had a director or a manager to run that. And so it's definitely morphed through the years, and it's been in different offices. It's been over at the Student Union for a while. It's been through the promotions office. And then in 2008, when I came on, they absorbed it, or actually gave it to the College of Arts and Humanities and Social Sciences. And so that's when the big transformation started, probably.
And when you talk about big transformation, what does that entail? What's the...
Well, you know, we've Performing Arts Series always, actually they've always stuck to their vision. And the vision statement is enhancing education through the arts. So we engage the community, particularly the K through 12 population. But, you know, we're here at the university, we're here for our students and faculty and staff. When we brought it into the College of Arts, we were able to incorporate more of our student and faculty performances. So just this last year, as a matter of fact, it was, I thought, a big change for us. We even called the series or the season Transformations and Collaborations. And we had different sub-series within the umbrella, so to speak, Performing Arts Series. So we had a guest artist series, which that's where we bring in the outside artists and artists in residence. And then we had the premiere series. And we created the premiere series to kind of show off or showcase our premier groups, student groups and faculty groups on campus. Our theater department's musical in the fall. Our music department's President's Gala in the spring, which we're very excited that we're going back to the Kaufman Performing Arts Center in Kansas City next year. And the Provost Faculty Showcase. So those are our premier performances. And then we also created a fanfare series. And that's to all the other performances and recitals and concerts that the music department does. And I thought I was busy until I started working with the music department, right. And they have a tremendous, very busy schedule.
Well, and I know you and I were talking earlier today about the President's Gala, which is sort of the end of the year event with the School of Music. And if folks didn't get a chance to go to that, it was a tremendous presentation. They did just such a great job and a wide variety. And one of the things I always think about you because it was all over the place physically in the room. So I imagine there's a lot of prep work that has to go in that to think about, well, how are we going to do this and what do we need in the balcony to make this happen?
Yeah, there really was, and there was even more this year because we brought in the electronics and our music technology department into Hendricks Hall, is what you're talking about. And I love working in Hendricks Hall. My office is the on-site manager of Hendricks Hall, and that's our biggest venue on campus. It seats 1,400 people. And anybody who has really grown up in Warrensburg, the hall was built in 1923. Mm-hmm. So it has a lot of history, and anybody that's grown up in this area at all is familiar with Hendricks Hall. They went there as a kid, and we have also, not only do we have our university organizations and student groups using it, but also outside groups. Churches use it for Easter service, and smaller towns use it for high school graduation. So it's a great venue, but it's challenging because it was built in 1923. Well, something like the President's Gala, like you said, there's a lot of different groups switching in and out, and that actually created a little problem for us. A couple of years ago, we were able to take our students up to the Performing Arts Center at Kaufman, and it's a fantastic experience. You know, some of these music students will never be able to probably perform in a world-class facility like the Kaufman. So that's why we're doing it again this year. But Hendricks is okay too, because if they want to stay in entertainment, they're going to be performing in older spaces like that. So I thought it went off really well.
And it's a challenge too. I mean, just even simple things folks might not think about, power, you know, those kind of things. With something that was built in the 20s, it was never intended to have the kind of power demands that we might have today.
Absolutely, and not only did we bring electronics into this performance and computers and laptops, we also had the media network come in and live stream it. So we had that added video, the video cameras and all the electronics that go with it. So it is a challenge, but what a great opportunity for the students.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. So as part of the Performing Arts Series, there are a lot of student groups, but there are a lot of other groups that are included in that, other performers, basically guest performers, things. So what is it, can you tease us a little bit about what this coming year looks like?
This coming year probably is going to look like a lot like it did last year. Last year we started using our other venues. We have a great recital hall, Hart Recital Hall, which seats 368 people. Fantastic acoustics. We've upgraded the sound and the lighting in there so we can have smaller groups. For instance, last year we brought in world-class a cappella men's chorus, Chanticleer, and it was just fantastic. It was packed and the sound was so good. And then we also have the theater department, as we have a theater there at Highlander that seats 440, and that's a proscenium type theater and a great stage house. And so we actually use all three of those venues. Last year we used Hart Recital Hall quite a bit. Now we did take the larger shows. We were really excited last year to bring in Sean Pelton, who is the drummer for Saturday Night Live. And he happens to be from Warrensburg and graduated from Warrensburg High School. And he did a workshop for us, and then we took him into Hendricks Hall, where he performed with our own jazz ensemble, the UCM Jazz Ensemble. It was a special night, and I think we were live streaming that as well, and recorded that. But we brought in some smaller groups last year. We did a collaborative project last year that I was really excited about. We're going to do that again, where we brought some members of the Kansas City Symphony down for an evening and play with some of our faculty members in the music department, and then also do a workshop with our students and some of our, we also have the music department has a community music program for K through 12. And we brought some of those students in to meet these members of the Kansas City Symphony. And we're going to do that again. And really excited this fall, bringing in an Emmy-winning choreographer from New York City. That he's a young guy, he's a dancer, choreographer, tap dancer. Tapping is his specialty, and I love tap dancing. I brought one in a few years ago, and I said I got to do this again, and really excited about that. And what we're trying to do, we did this last year, and I think everyone we're doing this coming season is we're having the artists in a residency type program. So they're usually going to be here 2 to 3 days. Some of them may be recording. You know, we have a great recording studio now, music technology. Obviously, some workshops and master classes. This last year, I had a group out of New York City called the Mayhem Poets. There's 3 young guys, and their mission was to bring poetry to the masses. And they do it with theatrical style, comedy, improv, hip-hop, rap. And I was able not only to have them here on campus, but I took them out to the Warrensburg High School, and they did a show for the high school kids. And that's probably an opportunity, and I feel like that's kind of our mission too, is being a major university in a small rural area, that's our mission, to make sure that those kids are exposed to those experiences. So we're going to be doing a lot more of that this next year.
So over the years, as the Performing Arts Series has evolved and changed and grown, and you've had more and more sort of impact with students, and especially K-12 students that's become a bigger part of the program. What do the kids get out of that? What was the thought behind that change?
Well, we've kind of been doing it all along, but one of the things that is in the past few years, as everybody has experienced, is some budget cuts and cutting back on financing. So we had to be creative, and we go out and look for grants. And I'm really proud of the fact that since I've been here, we've had grants every year for the series. And of course, part of that, any grant, they want to see what your outreach activities are to the community. And we're considered, not only Warrensburg, but Johnson County is considered an underserved population, mostly because it's rural, which means that a lot of those, that community and those K through 12 kids don't have the opportunity, might not have the opportunity to experience some of these, let's say, world-class performances. And so what we try to do, a couple of different things. We not only bring the kids in, and Hendricks Hall is great because I said, you can put 1,000 7-year-olds in there and just have a ball with it. We partnered with KMOS a couple of years ago and brought in Clifford the Big Red Dog, and they just loved that. And then I brought in some marionettes a few years ago, and I was able to take them, which is a lot easier to take that show, out to the schools. And that makes it a lot better for the schools, because at the time the schools were having funding problems. They couldn't even afford the buses to come to campus. They're right in town. And that's not their fault, that's just the way it is. So we were able to take the artists to the kids. And then the kids are able to interact. You know, I took a mime one time to first graders, and able to interact with those artists. And the other thing, of course, too, is we involve UCM students in every production and every aspect of the series. So they're getting, it's that enhanced, engaged learning that university, and we embrace that with university, and we use students in all of our productions.
One of the things folks may not know is great audio recording programs. So I know that you bring students from that and help with live support and recording and things
Absolutely,
like that.
yeah.
And we of course have a crew of students here today with the program. So when a student gets a chance to come and see a performance like this, and maybe it's something that ordinarily they would not go to in their regular day-to-day life, what does that do for them? How does that change their view on the arts, change their view of the world, being from a rural area and then being able to go see a performance like this?
Now, are you talking about college students or the?
Yeah, I'm still talking about the young students.
The younger,
yeah,
the younger
right.
students.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, and we always get big thank yous from the teachers and the administration and the parents, and that's the best part. We take a lot of photos, like you all do, videos, and we post those. We try to post those and show that we're engaging those kids and giving them that cultural experience, and also being exposed to. You'll hear me use the creative human spirit, which is limitless as far as I'm concerned, and that's something again they may never be exposed to again.
And what about the college students? Just to follow up with the next question, the college students, when they get an opportunity to maybe either work in a workshop with one of these artists that comes in, or even play sometimes with somebody, what does that do for them?
Well, obviously, we're with the College of Arts. We use a lot of the arts students.
Sure.
A lot of the theater students, I like using theater students because they're used to being on stage. They're used to being backstage. They understand the lighting. As you mentioned, I use a lot of our music tech students, music technology, for the sound. But also, we use some marketing students. I've had PR students, as we do a lot of marketing. I've had students in the past from the education department, early childhood education, that helps me with our outreach. So those students really get fantastic experience, especially if they're wanting to go into the entertainment business. I'll go back to Clifford the Big Red Dog. That was a company, a touring company out of New York City with professional actors. Well, we brought our university students in to work with them. I had them do work wardrobe and carpentry, stage hands, and I made sure that they sat down and broke bread with them and had dinner with them. And you could just hear the conversations, how those actors were sharing their experiences, because we have a lot of theater students, a great theater program here on campus. And a lot of students go into the business. You're not always going to get that acting job if you go to New York or LA. Same with musicians. You go to Nashville or LA and think you're going to get a recording contract. You're probably going to start in a studio, or you're going to start in the box office. So I try to make sure that those kids get all those experiences in the business, because that's what they're going to get when they graduate.
And when we talk about I'm sure you guys have done studies on this, the impact of the program. I'm sure you have to report that for grants and things like that. What kind of numbers do you report, or what kind of examples do you give about the impact of the Performing Arts Series?
Obviously, they want to know how many people,
right,
how many kids attend, and that's kind of arbitrary to me. It depends on the size of your venue. It depends on the size of your town, and so I can't compete with Kansas City. But I know that when I bring 1,000 kids in, that's a great turnout for us, and we keep most of the time when you work with grants. Missouri Arts Council is one of them. They look at the numbers, and then they want real stories. They want, I'll get a thank you card from a 7-year-old, and they'll draw a picture on it and say, I love the puppets. This was the marionettes, and so then that shows that this was a big impact.
And just circling back to something you said earlier, not that there's a direct correlation here, but you think about the drummer for Saturday Night Live is from here, so it's not that there's no chance of a person from Warrensburg or Johnson County going to the big city and becoming a major market kind of talent. But having the ability to see these sorts of things and meet people and see that it's possible as a career.
Yeah, it was actually, that was pretty cool, because if you go out to Warrensburg High School, the first thing you see when you walk in the hall is his picture. And a lot of these kids out at the high school, maybe they watch Saturday Night Live, or they would at least see his picture on the wall. All of a sudden, they got to come to the show, and they got to meet Sean, and that really brought it all together for them. And you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of our music and theater kids here at the university want to go on into entertainment. So that really brought it home. If we can, I would like to do more of that if we can. We've had some successful people go on into the entertainment business, and we always try to tie things in as much as we can. We also work with, I work with presenters really in about 7-state area. And so I'll try to bring, when I say local, I'll try to bring some artists maybe from Kansas City or maybe from St. Louis. And we try to share those people, and it works out pretty well because they can drive instead of paying
cheaper,
for airfare. So.
Now, the other thing that's been happening lately is Hendricks Hall, which is one of the venues that you do the series in, has been sort of getting some renovations done to it. You want to talk a little bit about the changes in Hendricks?
I'd love to. I could talk about that all day. It's something that I've been working on. I was on a committee when I first came in. They were talking about renovations because it has not had anything done to it really as far as a major renovation since the mid-'80s. In the meantime, as I said, it gets a lot of use.
Yeah.
And then technology has changed. And it's still, you're limited because back then, a theater built in 1923, it was vaudeville style, really, as far as the productions that they did on stage. And it actually was built to house the entire student body of the college at the time, which was 1,100 students.
Yeah,
no problem.
Not going to work now.
Yeah, and so they would have everything there. They had senior exams, they had all their testing, all their, it was an auditorium back then. And so, but over the years, because of the size of it, it's been used for absolutely everything. The problem is, like I said, it hasn't been renovated since the mid-'80s. So we've had, just recently, in the past few years, we've had some things as far as failure. Just overuse. You have curtains that get to a certain age and you've got to replace those. Well, our current administration realized that, and I really appreciate President Ambrose and his vision of, and I've had conversations with him and his administration about the renovation of the hall, and we're starting that. Now we put together something called the Arts Gateway, a plan that included Hendricks Hall, because we realized this is a venue that needs to stay. It needs to be viable, and it needs to be absolutely brought up to code and other things like that. So we're really excited about that. Of course, it's always the funding. That's the issue. It's always the funding. Now, I have a great leader in the Dean of the College of Arts, Dr. Gershom Nelson, and he's been instrumental in helping find some funding, because it did come to a point where we had to put new curtains in Hendricks Hall. Now we're working on, we've just finished a lighting project there. Now we're working on sound, so at least we're getting there. And people, like I said, people remember going there when they were a little kid, and then they come back 30 years later, and they have a lot of interest in that. There's a lot of history there.
Well, we're almost out of time here, Jeff. Folks want to find out, is there someplace they can go online to look at the schedule for the upcoming year?
They can. Now, we haven't announced it yet because we're a little behind. We might be changing ticketing systems. I mentioned that to you. So if we do that, I'm waiting. But we'll be announcing in the next few weeks and start selling tickets in August. So we have a website, ucmpas.com, I also have a Facebook. You can look up Performing Arts Series on Facebook, and we'll make that big announcement. And rest assured, when I make the announcement, it's going to be everywhere.
Absolutely, and including here on KMOS.
That's right.
Well, Jeff, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to whatever the new season holds. I guess we'll find out in a little while, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's it for Pause here this week. I appreciate once again Jeffrey Imboden, who is here with the University of Central Missouri's Performing Arts Series and also working out of the Office of Performing Arts, telling us a little bit about the upcoming season. So we got a little bit of information, but there's definitely more to come. You can always find that on our website, kmos.org. If you have questions and you'd like to get those things answered, you can always call us here at KMOS and we'll direct you to the right folks. Thank you for joining us here on Pause.